I'm Tiffany.
And I'm Mary Beth.
Welcome to Turning Pages. We're going to talk about something that Mary Beth and I both struggle with, and so we're kind of talking it through, and at the end we'd love to hear what you think, but that is how to eliminate distractions when it's time to write, and what are some of those distractions that threaten to steal your writing time.
Or time management, if you want to think of it that way. We both have full-time jobs and, other responsibilities. Unfortunately, writing at the moment doesn't pay the bills. Therefore, I need to do the other things so that I can get the voices out of my head and onto the paper. And hopefully someday that'll be a full-time gig.
Yeah, and if you're trying to, be a writer and have writers have writing be your full-time job, there are things that you can do, just like in any career, that you have to make, very clear to delineate in your life so that you can make that transition one day, right? As we will.
Right.
So let's first start talking about some of the things that really do threaten the time. What's the number one thing, do you think?
The internet.
The internet and / your phone, right?
Yeah.
We know, because we write together frequently, and sometimes we can be a distraction to each other.
That's a good distraction, though.
Yeah.
Because it's somebody to bounce my ideas off of and ask questions.
But if we have to look something up, as, writers are always do, there's a danger in falling into a research hole. Oh, look, did you know that the yellowfin fish migrates, da-da-da? And then it's like, oh, I can set my story here. Oh, look, I can make this happen. And you do run the risk of falling into a research hole.
And then there's always
cat videos.
Do you think that the government is going to wonder why I was researching on how to blow up a meth lab and those kinds of things?
To create a meth lab.
Right. So,
So while, research is an important phase of any writing and it's ongoing as that document is a living document, you want to, sometimes you can just put like a ... or some brackets and say, I'm going to go back and research this later, but for the sake of the time that I have to write, I'm going to keep writing through it.
Right.
Because when you go on the internet, there's this thing called Facebook and Twitter and Insta and Snap and your Vine and your this, whatever it is, a ping happens and the world
stops,
goes to shit.
Somebody tagged me. I have to go see.
So, what can you do about that is really the thing we want to discuss.
There are programs that you can use that will turn off your internet for a specific time period. So you can set it up if you want to write for 5 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever your time period is, without the internet, without the distraction of Facebook and whatever else. You can set the timer and it will turn it turns the Wi-Fi off. I don't really know how it works.
Or you could just turn the Wi-Fi.
Right, or you could do that.
But if you don't have the willpower.
Right, but if you're writing in a public place and you don't have access to that, it's something that turns off. It's something that is accountable. You can't go back and say, oh, well, maybe I'm just going to take 5 minutes and look at Facebook. Be like, oh, no,
5 turns into 20, turns into 15. And we do sometimes go out to write in public to get away from the distractions in our house. Like I have a puppy who wants to be on my lap when the computer's on my lap. So I know that if I really need to get down to business, I have to make sure he has a toy or that I'm not there, that we go out to public. When we go out in public, which is good because it stimulates you and it gets you kind of out of that, rut, other people can sometimes be distractions.
Loud talkers.
How many times have we been out at our favorite writing spot where someone uses it as their office or their marriage counseling session or their wedding photographer?
Yes.
So you have to just be mindful that each of these things has a benefit and a drawback.
Right.
And it's really...
Headphones.
And when you're
save
out
the
public.
day. Yes, very helpful.
Save the day. And when you're at home, there are other distractions because people. Hashtag because people.
Chores. Like, oh, should I really be sitting here writing when I know there's piles of laundry, there's dirty dishes in the sink? Let me go check the fridge and see what's in there. When I'm writing in public, especially if I'm by myself, I typically am stuck sitting there because I don't want to get up and leave my stuff.
Because we live in New Jersey.
Yeah, well, as far as bathroom is concerned, I will just sit there and suffer because otherwise I have to pack up all my belongings and cart them with me, and it's too much of a hassle. So, again, a perk, a plus and a minus depending on where you are.
Right. And, you know, as you kind of get into the flow of writing, you start to notice, because when you're starting, it is a little bit more difficult. But when you get into that, you know, 100-page, 150-page mark, where you feel like you're just constantly treading water or constantly climbing up the hill, it is so important to monitor the word count that you have for the day. That really can help you to feel, because some days 250 words can feel like 6,000, where you're like, these were the hardest 250 words I ever wrote, but I wrote them. And some days 1,000 can feel like I haven't really done anything. Right. It's still good to kind of give yourself that barometer, not to put unnecessary anxiety on you, but to really let you go, hey, I did it. I did it today, and I'll do it tomorrow. And that way, when you look back, you've written 20 or 30 or 40, 50,000 words, and you're very close to the end. And that is a good way to kind of gauge and fuel your energy throughout.
You can also schedule time to write. You let the people in your life, the ones that would be calling and distracting you, the ones that would be asking you to make dinner or put the clothes in the dryer, whatever. You can tell them, between this time and this time, please don't bother me because I'm writing. You can get up early and skip the gym and go in the office and write instead. Or you can get a treadmill desk and do both at the same time.
Yeah, I think, the number one thing is once you've decided that, writing is something that you want to do, not just for fun, because people do it just for fun and it happens whenever, right? But if you're, treat it like that second job, that part-time job, that transitional period, and be true to that, be, honest and honor the time that you schedule for yourself to write. Along with that is knowing when you are most productive as a writer, because you can maximize the time. I used to be a night owl. I used to write into the dawn, the next day would come. Now I find that I'm most productive between the hours of 10 and 1. So I'll get chores done in the morning, do my little workout or meditate or watch Wendy Williams or whatever it is, right? Have my coffee. And then I know I can go hard for 2-3 hours and I will get the most out of that time, as opposed to saying, all afternoon I'm going to write and get nothing done. Knowing yourself and when you're most productive. And for some people with children or small farm animals or whatever you have to know, maybe the only time I can do it is when they're napping or, I give them some sugar or whatever, and that you can maximize, and you can maximize that. Just like working in an office, you have to be accountable to yourself for that time that you're doing.
But don't feel like it has to be an hour. If you can only fit in 20 minutes a day, you'll make those 20 minutes work. You'll make the best of those 20 minutes. So don't feel like, I have so many things to do. When could I possibly fit it in? Turn the news off at night. Right. Nobody wants to watch the sad news anyway. And spend 20 minutes before going to bed jotting down ideas, working on a chapter, editing, whatever, point you're at. It's not a long period of time. It'll pass quickly, but things will get done because you only have this amount of time to do it. And that way you're not feeling like you're neglecting everything else in life just to do your writing. And your writing should be important. I don't want that to sound like, oh, it's just my writing, because that's not what I meant. But, obviously we understand people have other obligations in life, and it's difficult to fit in your writing, your art, whatever your hobby is, whatever you're trying to accomplish. You have to make the time for it, but it doesn't have to be an all-day affair.
Right. So, we've talked about ways to, work through writer's block. We've talked about some of the craft, the craft elements, and we kind of just wanted to address like what is maybe holding you back when you are actually sitting down to write. And these are just some of the things that we thought about. We would love to hear, how do you deal with distractions? How do you deal with the things that steal your time? Let us know. Leave us a comment.
When is your favorite time to write? What works best for you? Share, because, maybe it'll help the rest of us.
Absolutely.
Put it below. And we will discuss next time.
Thanks for watching.
Keep turning those pages.
Bye.
Bye-bye.